In this first grouping assignment, we will start as usual with our basic block, 10 feet by 10 feet. Push full for 10 will make it a perfect cube. Now remember, the whole reason for grouping is that so objects do not stick together, so that this block, when selected, copied, and left in position, can no longer be moved away from this other block as they are now connected. Not one block can be selected individually, which causes a problem. To fix this solution, to create a solution, we're going to triple click the block, selecting all edges of it. Once the entire block is selected, if we right click and we make it a group, you'll notice some fundamental changes to the way it looks. It now is highlighted, moves as one, which is an important aspect. Furthermore, we can make a copy of the block, and the blocks can move individually as their own entities. We'll select these three blocks together. You can also select all of the blocks in one shot if I choose. Press Control and move over and make as many copies as I want. For this particular video, I'm going to create a few more copies to create a small pyramid using these blocks. Be sure when you create the pyramid that all the points snap together. With the pyramid selected, I want to make a copy of the pyramid. Now, groups can be grouped with inside of one another. For example, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 groups, which move individually. Now, if I wanted to move the entire object at one time, I would want to select all of the shapes and move them. However, if we group these shapes together by selecting them all and right-clicking, it enables us to move all the shapes at the same time, as you can see here. However, we also know that the shapes, in order to be moved individually, once the objects are grouped together, in order to move them, what we have to do is open up the group temporarily by using our select tool and double clicking on the group itself. This brings us into edit mode, and by edit mode we mean that we can change each of the blocks. We can't change their actual shape or size, as each one of the blocks are also a group and they are locked as well. What we can change at this level is the positioning of the blocks relative to one another. We can move them, then when we come out of edit mode, they will move as a whole unit based upon where I left them. So let's go back into edit mode, drag our block back to here. What we want to do now is we want to make a couple copies of this. I'm going to take my object here, I'm going to drag it up, drop it in a position, press the X key, and then number 2. You'll notice in the bottom right corner it says X2. As soon as you drop this shape, if you press X2 then enter, which you must do immediately, I didn't do it there, try it again, Control, click, X2, enter. It'll create it for a total of 3 shapes as you see here. Now, if we don't want these 3 shapes to move, we could drag another group over the top, and you'll see you have 3 groupings of 6 blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. And we can make all of those into a group by clicking once again. Now, this entire shape is locked together, as you can see. But now the key is, if we want to change any one of these groups, we know that we can't just cut a hole on them by drawing and cutting a hole. The groups are locked, and while I can come out of the group, I can't actually go inside. So in order to change one of the groups, I have to move into it and click down all the way into the first group that I made, which was the block. So 1, 2 click puts me inside of that last grouping. The second click puts me inside of the grouping where I created these 3 objects, and you'll notice the third grouping will put me into the group that is the rectangle. So let's go through, and with my offset tool, create an offset of 2 inches. and then I will push pull this back. I'll orbit around, or I'll just select the back edge so that my block goes all the way through. Now let's do this with all the other blocks in this group. Let's select, open up another group, offset, push pull, until I have all of the objects cut out. The most important thing is to remember you have to be inside of the group in order to change it. If you do not see the little box around it, you are not inside of the group and cannot push pull it. And that should look like this. Next thing we want to do is to use color to change the color of each of the blocks. For this, we're also going to want to get into our groups. So let's get into the first group, into the second one, and here you can see all of the individual groups, all 6 of them. Now when using the coloring tool, the paint bucket, you can actually color a group all at one time, like so. However, the problem is that you cannot select an individual face or an individual side, so you can't color individual faces. If you wish to color individual parts of it, or different pieces, different colors, you have to then go into edit mode and make sure that the whole block is not selected. If the whole block is selected and you color it, the whole block will highlight. However, if you don't have anything selected in the block, but you are in edit mode, you can select individual faces with various colors to make the block whatever colors you wish. We're going to make ours completely red, so I'm going to go back and triple click and make it red. Let's go through and color all of the other blocks. Now that the first block is colored, what if we would now want to create an exact copy of this entire shape, except we want to move this rainbow color to the bottom and each one of these up? Well, we know that right now they're locked into position because this group is locking all of them. So what we can do is we can get rid of a group for now by right clicking and saying explode. That leaves just the 3 other shapes. What I want you to do now is I want you to figure out a way to move this shape to the bottom and create 2 additional shapes, all the same color. So you'll have a colored row and you'll have a white row. So what you'll have to do is you'll have to figure out a way to move this over and create the proper grouping. When the entire thing is done, this row, all 3 of these should be in one group. Your colored row over here should be in one row and one group, and then the whole object should be grouped together. Let's see if you can get this done. Alright, if done correctly, this is what your object should be like. As you go through, click the groups to see if you have it done properly. The first group, let's see if you can tell, moves the entire object. So therefore I know that both groups, both columns were put together using a group. So if I double click that, let's see if I can move these individually. Each tower can be moved. And so therefore I know that I have a group here and here in 3. If I open up this group, I'm back to my groups of 6 all the way down to 1. If you got this correct and you have one big group, 2 smaller ones, 1, 2, 3 smaller ones, down to 6, you've correctly grouped the assignment together. Now that you have your blocks successfully grouped, go back and I want you to create a hole through each one of the blocks as you see here. The 3rd one up, then the 5th one, the 8th one. Now, for the holes, you have to use your circle tool and find the center point of the block. If it doesn't come up, what you can do is take the center tool, the circle tool, find the midpoint inside of this group, find the midpoint on one edge, infer to the midpoint on the bottom edge, drag them to the center, and you'll feel it snap to the center point. Then, to get the circles the correct size, you have to enter in a radius of 2. If you write 2 feet, you'll see it come up in the bottom window. It says radius of 2. and then you will have your circle at the size it needs to be. It is then push-pulled all the way through and colored a gray color of your choosing. And this will conclude your grouping assignment 1.